Hello everyone. This is like the third time that I try to make this video, and I don't know, it's complicated. I just came back from a 3-day program called New Leadership Virginia. It was all about women's leadership, and I just got home. I looked at my mom, I looked at my aunt, and I was like, there's so much that I need to say, and I don't know where to start. I actually don't even know where this is gonna end or where I want it to go. But there's a conversation that we need to have, and it needs to revolve around women's independence, women's right to choose how they want to exist. I was born and raised in a very matriarchal family. The head of my mom's household was my grandma. She was married. They were all married. Like, please don't come for me, people who believe in traditional households. This was traditional. I grew up in a very traditional Catholic household. There was a grandpa. They were married. Don't come for me, okay? But regardless of that, it was very untraditional in other ways. My grandma, she was so independent. Like, she just did whatever she wanted to do. And she taught all her daughters, because she had only daughters, to be independent. And when I was born to my mom and my dad, who were also married and had a normal life. But my mom has always been like a strong figure of a woman, and she's always had her career. She's in IT, so like STEM, male dominated. She had me, she then had my brother, lived a normal it was a very normal life. But now, after this conversation and after being in this program, I realized maybe it wasn't as normal as I always thought it was. Maybe it was kind of revolutionary. And maybe the way I see the life and the world is thanks to my mom and her mom. But maybe that's not what most girls are taught. Duh. So yeah, my mom was always working. She's still working. I always saw her as a working mom. Like, I just thought it was normal for women to work and raise a family too, and be financially independent and do whatever they want to do. And my dad, he's always also been there. Like, he's also just always been done his thing. So to me, that was normal. I was like, yeah, it's so normal for both of their parents to just kind of like do their thing, and I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna do my thing. But then, as I've started college and really thinking about my own life, I realized, whoa, maybe it's not as easy as I thought. Maybe systematically it's just complicated for women to be able to do what my mom did. And maybe my mom was just a little crazy, and in the best way possible. And her mom, my grandma, she was also a little crazy. She taught herself how to drive because behind my grandpa's back. And not because my grandpa didn't want to teach her. I think my grandpa was also just like trying to survive, like working to try to raise all his daughters. And my grandma was like, you know what, I'm gonna learn how to drive. So maybe they were both a little insane in a way, going against the system, a system that I never realized was a system until now I'm older, and I'm like, okay, wait, I want to go into law. I know that I want to pursue a career. I still don't, like, realistically, I still do not know what I want to do. Like, I got asked that question a lot last night. We had a networking dinner, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, what do you want to do? And I'm like, yeah, I want to go into law. But then as the night went by, I'm like, I want to study law. I want to get my JD. But like, I don't know if I'm going to be a lawyer, which sounds super stupid. But that's the reality of things. Like, I'm 20. I just finished my second year of college. I feel also sometimes old. I'm like, oh my gosh, my life is like over. But at the same time, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Anyway, the point is, I know that I want to pursue my career. I know that I love what I do, and I know that I have some potential in me. Like, I can do great things. But it's also like, wait, I also kind of like want to get married and have a family and like live the life that my mom and my grandma did and all my aunts did. But it's not that easy because, I have to work really long hours, and I'm always tired, and I don't even have time to cook for myself. Damn, like, when am I gonna get married? Am I gonna have kids? I don't know. It's so complicated. And that's when I started realizing, wait, the system is difficult, because if I don't work, if I don't have the financial independence that I always thought I was going to have because my mom always had it, am I really gonna be that free, or do I want to depend on my husband? Because no shade to whoever you are, like, out there. It's not that I don't like trust you, but at the same time, like, I want to be myself. Personally, that does not sit right with me. Not saying that that's something bad, but that's when I also started realizing, and we kind of talked about that during this program, like, it's all about having the right to choose what you want to do with your life. And I know that I want to do that, but then I'm like, whew, it's gonna be complicated because life is not really built like that. Like, the world is not really thought to serve women in that way. So then, am I really gonna have that independence, and am I gonna have to, like, just swim against the current my entire life? And then maybe when I'm like 50 something, be like, oh, whew, it was all worth it, but I was literally going insane for like 20 years of my life. I don't know. And we kind of talked about it during the program. We talked a lot about, like, the legislative process, even the way the legislature works, at least in Virginia, and the amount of time that legislators have to devote to their legislative duties. It wasn't thought for it to be a woman, because usually women take care of the family. So who's gonna be at home with the kids, while you're, like, out there trying to change the world? I don't know. It's all of this, like, things intertwining. That's like, okay, maybe how am I gonna find my freedom and my independence? And what are the decisions that in the future I'm gonna be able to make? And what are the decisions that I won't be able to make? And that sounds stupid and redundant maybe, but maybe I want coffee, and then maybe my husband is like, you're getting coffee again. But if it was my money, I'd be like, yeah, what about it? It's my money. But what if I don't have that money to get my coffee? So then I have to ask my husband if I can get coffee, as if I was his child. Baffling. Thinking that maybe in the future, and of course this is like a hypothetical scenario where, like, I've graduated and I got married and I decided, I'm gonna stay home because childcare is incredibly expensive and working hours are incredibly long and I just have to stay home, so then naturally I have to sacrifice my career, even though I have, like, a great bright future ahead. And then I had a great bright future ahead in this hypothetical scenario, and I have this degree and I have all of this education, but then I cannot even buy my coffee because this hypothetical husband is like, you're gonna buy coffee again? And then they're gonna control your life, and then you don't have access to the bank accounts, and then you have no freedom. And then where did all that go? Where did all this fight for freedom and fight for voting and fight for education, where did it all go if I had to sacrifice my career and sacrifice my financial freedom, and then I'm back in a square one? So I don't know, and I kind of want, like, young women to start having this conversation of, like, what are we supposed to do? What should we do? What are the conversations that we need to start having, and things that we need to start questioning? But anyway, there's some, like, realms that I kind of want to touch on. I want to touch on education, I want to touch on healthcare, and I want to touch on financial freedom or finances. So the first one, education. Now more than ever, we're seeing women pursuing a degree and even, like, pursuing higher education, like, past their undergraduate, their bachelor's degree. There's, like, a record-breaking amount of, like, women going to law school. Women are out earning men, and that's crazy. Like, that has never happened before, and for the majority of existence, we have not been able to do that. They've actually worked really hard to kind of, like, erase us and put us in the background as some sort of decoration and not even write about us anywhere, like we don't exist. And then suddenly, poof, like 50% of people in law school are women or something like that. That's insane. That really shows the progress that we've made, and also, like, the hunger that we had to access these kinds of opportunities, and also the potential that we have to be successful in all of these spaces. But then the question to me, it's always like, well, I'm educated, I get a degree, and then I start working. And of course, number one, in the workplace, there's probably a lot of, like, barriers and harassment, and I'm probably going to be out-earned by men because they're just men. And then it's like, well, and what if I want to get married? What if I want to have a family? Because I'm not out here telling you, like, don't have a family, never get married. Like, no, I think that's beautiful, and that's something that I personally want, but I also want to be a lawyer. And how do I juggle both of those things? How do women juggle both of those things? So those are the things that we have to start questioning. Like, okay, we've broken through some barriers. We're accessing education. We're like literally killing it. Then what? Because we cannot just end like, okay, yeah, I have my degree. And then what? Like, we enter the world, and then majority of people in leadership positions are men, which, again, it's nothing bad, but it's a really representative of the people. It's a really representative of the population. I'm going to reference primarily government, but it's also in the private sector. Most people in Congress are men. And it's supposed Congress by like design, it should be a representation of the people, but half of the people are women. But only like 30% of people in Congress are women. So it's like, is it really representation? Where did all of our education go? Because we have all of these degrees and we're all in all of these like educational spaces, but we don't hold all of these leadership positions. We're still kind of relegated maybe to administrative tasks, which is nothing bad, but it kind of like starts undermining and kind of not undermining, but like stopping our potential when we could do so much more. And what's the reason why our potential gets stopped and halted in that way? It's just because we're women. Because we should be put in like administrative positions, period. Like, no one really questions it. So that's number one. And here, I think what young women need to do is continue studying, continue becoming as educated as you can, continue being the top performing person in your class, continue getting as many degrees as you can, publishing as much as you can, talking as much as you can, networking, like really exploit your education as much as you can. And I really also want to say, education, especially in the United States, oh, and also another huge parentheses, I'm talking in the context of the United States. Yeah, it's rough out here, but I do have to acknowledge that we have way many more freedoms than people in most other places. And yeah, I do want to acknowledge I'm like talking in that context. And number two, I also want to acknowledge that education in this country, especially higher education, is like such a privilege because it's so incredibly expensive that just keeps majority of people out of these opportunities. But if you've already broken through those barriers and you're already in college and you're already getting all of this education, or you're thinking of college and you're like through high school and you're looking for those opportunities because you really want to do this, you really want to be educated and get your degree and be someone alone, like you stand alone as a woman and just be yourself and have your own opinions and like some things and dislike some other things and just exist as yourself. You should do it as best as you can. And it's really sad when you're like a minority and you have to become incredibly outstanding just to be next to an average white man. and there was a whole study my freshman year of college, my fall semester, so literally my first class ever in college. Professor McGrath from George Mason University Schar School of Policy, he had this study on why women legislators were so effective, and the theory was that it's because they have to be really good, like insanely good, top notch quality in order to get to play in those big leagues. Because you had to break through all the barriers of being a woman to be able to get to those positions, and that just has to make you incredibly outstanding. So I'm inviting all women to be that outstanding, to be able to like bump shoulders with an average man because you're that outstanding, because you've broken through all of those barriers and you're sitting in those tables. So yeah, does that mean that you have to like study twice as hard as someone else to get the same results? Yes, but do it because you can do it, because no one else is going to tell you not to do it, because in those moments it's just you and what you want to do, and you want to do it, so just do it, like Nike. So that's number one. We have to keep breaking into these spaces through our education, because we are already living the life that people and the opportunities that other people desire. Most women, even women in the past, not even just women in the present, like, it's just such a privilege to be educated, exploited to the absolute 1000%. Then the other one was health. It's also rough out here. Also, again, in the context of the United States, healthcare is a privilege. And it's really heartbreaking that sometimes the difference between like life or death is just if they had the money to get it or not. Which that's where we're gonna touch on our third point of finances. But yeah, we need to start talking more about our bodies. And it doesn't really need to be just in reproductive rights. It has to be also in just regular health, like periods and breast cancer and breast lumps and hormonal issues and acne. Like all of these things are so like quintessential to the women experience that we don't like really talk about, and they're super taboo. We need to talk about birth control. We need to talk about like exploring your body through. I mean, I'm huge like on breast cancer. That's something that like really freaks me out, and I've had my own experiences with women's health and lack of knowledge of my own body that then turn into like health issues. So really, from a personal like experience, know yourself and ask questions and get comfortable with understanding how your body works and all of those things. Even like sexual health, like I don't know, talk with your friends about like condoms and about like other forms of birth control and about lube. Like, I don't know, all of those things that again are so like natural and quintessential to the women experience, and everyone just kind of like expects you to know everything, but like no one will ever talk about it, but they're so important. And for this one, I kind of want to reference this influencer Miranda McKeon. She is in And With an E, that's how I met her, and then she was diagnosed with breast cancer at 19. And a lot of her stories, like, she had no idea that she could get breast cancer at 19. There was no history in her family of breast cancer or cancer in general. And then she did at 19, which is, like, literally, like, a unicorn. Like, it's a 1 in a million. It's incredibly rare. And she wasn't really informed in female health. And then she had breast cancer, and then now she's an advocate for women's health, and we need to start talking more about that, because it's not taboo. Like, maybe we've sexualized the woman's body, but it's just another body like any other, and it's just full of organs like any other body, and we need to learn, like, talk about that. And maybe through those discourse, then we're gonna be able to tackle other issues like access to healthcare, and again, for everyone. Because if you ask me, and this is again my personal opinion, feminism makes life better for everyone. This is not just about like, oh, making women like so much better than everyone else, and like, oh no, like it's about making everyone's life better. So maybe if we start talking about women's health, and we're gonna pivot to the conversation of accessibility to healthcare, and then that's when everyone is gonna have the right to access healthcare and not go absolutely broke because they get diabetes. So yeah, that's my soapbox regarding health. Now, my third soapbox was regarding finances, and I kind of touched on that before. Again, in the context and the framework of the United States of America, it's really expensive to access healthcare. Insurance is private. Everything is really expensive, and it is just expensive. That is essentially the summary of how it works here. And a lot of the times, what really makes a difference between like, oh, you're able to like deal with a disease and fight for your health in a way, and you just don't have that opportunity, is money. And women, and I also talked about it with education, most of the time we're put in this position of not having financial freedom. Because as society has been structured, women, we tend to be the caretakers. Most of the time, we're the ones that tend to stay home. And now that we have access to education and we get degrees and we do work for a little bit, then we get married and then we have kids, and then that's it for us. And that really is detrimental to our financial future and our financial stability, because essentially we become dependent on men. So we've like lived all of this in like life of independence, and there's like, okay, now you have a kid, now depend on your husband. Or again, work a job and go absolutely nuts, maybe like what my mom did, but have financial freedom, but again, go nuts, and then try to make it work, and maybe 10-20 years in the future when your kids are in college, you'll be fine. I don't know, but I think that's what my mom did, honestly. So yeah, having this conversation about, for me, and again, maybe this is because recently I've been going down this rabbit hole of personal finances, but true freedom comes from having money. And I don't want to say this in like a super like ambitious way, like you just need to have money because you need to buy the newest Porsche and invest in the stocks. But like, it really is like that, because the only thing standing between you and going to college and going to the college of the dreams and getting as many degrees as you want is money. The thing standing between you and your dream home is money. The thing standing between you and your health is money. So I don't want to be like this superficial person. And I really thought it for a while. I was like, ugh, money's not that important. Like, let's just all be happy. And then I grew up, and then I went to college, and I was like, wait a minute. Why did no one tell me how important it was to have savings? I don't know, like all of these things that we don't talk about as young people in general, and especially as young women, because the amount of men that just like on a regular everyday they talk about like, oh, I'm investing on like the S&P 500, like that is such a normal like inherent thing for men to talk about. And then for us it's like, oh, where do you get your nails done? Which is nothing bad, don't get me wrong, I'm always asking people about their nails and their dresses. Like, we don't have to stop being women, but it's also like, hey, where do you invest? Where do you save your money? What's the best high yield savings account? So then I can have money to go get my nails done, or then I can have money to buy new clothes, or I can have money to support myself and my kids, you know? So yeah, I don't know where to start. I've kind of been trying to like get the ball rolling on TikTok and being like, hey, this is financial education for college students, learn what loans are before you get a loan. But it's kind of like that, like learn what credit cards are, learn what really like finances look like as someone who's an adult, someone who's married. Because again, I'm not here to tell you never get married, like no, like men are the worst. No, I want us, and speaking again for myself, like I do want to get married, but I also want to have my own like freedom to be myself and my own independence, and that has to do a lot with my finances. And I want to have my own bank account that's under my name, and I want to have the money that I want to spend whatever I want. And if I want to get a new Van Cleef bracelet, I mean a new one, I don't even have one, but I want to get a Van Cleef necklace, I can get it because I have my own money and I have my own independence, and no one's gonna tell me that I cannot do it. So that's, to me, that's the ultimate freedom. But how do we get there? How do we like teach people? It's so important for you to stand up for yourself and get educated on your finances. And a lot of the time, of course, your finances are related to whatever job you do, because most of us are not born with like $10,000 in the bank account, or like a trust fund or whatever. So yeah, like talking a lot about that. And as young women, and this is just as young people, because this is not just for women. I mean, this should be a conversation that we all have. And again, I think I mentioned it in this version of the video. I don't know, because I've made this video like 3 times. But there was this guy in our cohort. There was one guy in the cohort of New Leadership Virginia who was there to learn about women leadership, because this is not just a women's effort. This is an everyone's effort. So yeah, be educated as a young person. Learn to be curious about finances and learn of what your freedom looks like from the financial aspect. It's not that funny to be like, oh, girl math, like, haha, I'm gonna spend all my money and like save nothing and like be in credit card debt. That's not funny. We shouldn't make that as a joke. I mean, you could like laugh about it, but like deep down, you need to be aware it's not that funny. Credit card debt is not that funny. If you think that like girl math is equal to being bad with money, I'm sorry, but girl math, I'm great with money. That's my girl math. So like, yeah, having those conversations on like money, finances, financial independence, how banks work, how money works, how interest works, what loans are, like all of those things are super important for women to understand, especially because we're like, oh, my husband is gonna figure out, oh, my boyfriend's gonna figure it out. But also like, wait, we can support them too. I can be like, oh, I want to teach my boyfriend about finances, because we're here to empower everyone through the empowerment of those who have been and are the most disenfranchised, which is kind of how I want to end this like 30-minute rant. We think that all the rights that we have right now, they're like set on stone, like they're never gonna be taken away. And we live in this kind of like idea that like everything that happened in the past, it kind of happened as like alternate reality, that like it's never gonna happen again, and then we're like in this separate realm of existence of like, oh, this is the present, and we just like kind of exist in this present vacuum, and everything else that happened, that just happened like a while ago. Like the horrors of World War II, they just like happened and that's it. Like it was the past, and people were just like irrational in the 1940s. But like it's 2026. Come on, like those things would never happen again. So we really think that a lot of the fights that we fought and we won in the past, like that's it. Like they die there, victory over. But that's not really how it works. We need to keep fighting constantly. And I don't want to make this sound like as some sort of like violent manifesto. Like no, we need to protect. That is, protect and safeguard the privileges that we enjoy currently. Of course, continue the striving. I don't want to use aggressive vocabulary. Continue striving to make more progress, to always improve, because there's always room for improvement, but also understanding that fights that have been won, they're not just set on stone. Nothing is ever set on stone. So we cannot take things for granted and we cannot slack. Because again, and how I mentioned, we need to make things better for everyone, especially for those most forgotten, for those most relegated, for those most abused. And that's something that we have to constantly keep doing, and that's where education comes in. We have to keep questioning things. We have to be like, is this really what I want my future daughter to live in, my future son to live in? Is this really what I want the future generations, period, to experience? Or what am I doing with my really, and I don't want to be pessimistic, but like a little bit of insignificant existence in the great scheme of like the universe and reality and life? What am I doing with that to make life for everyone else a little bit better? And understanding that those endeavors are never ending. They're a constant part of human existence, and they've always been that way. And humans have been on the planet for thousands of years, and we've constantly just been in this history of like evolution, and that is just the way it is. And we cannot forget that, I guess, inherent trait of life. So yeah, go out there, be as educated as you can, be as outstanding as you can, work as hard as you can, and keep working towards making life a little bit better for everyone else. For everyone else now, for everyone else later, and for those who came before and who did that before us, and whose shoulders now we stand on. And now I'm here, and now I am in the United States, and now I'm studying my bachelor's degree, hoping to pursue postgraduate education and whatever that looks like. I'm out here making a video fully in English, being fully bilingual, being fully trilingual, because my mom did all the things that she had to do for me to be here today, and her mom, my grandma, did everything that she did for my mom to have all the freedoms that my grandma never did. And on those two people is on whose shoulders I stand on. And just like that, there's so many other women who came before them, who allowed them to be who they are. And that is why I am here today. And that is why my brother is here today. And that is why we're all, regardless of who we are, we all have a mother. And that's why we're all here today. So I guess that is my soapbox. I hope you enjoyed this video. There will be a vlog of my experience in the New Leadership Virginia program. There's new leadership programs in all other states. So like New Leadership, insert your state name. Go look for them. If you're in Virginia, apply for the cohort for next year. And if your state doesn't have one, I don't know, try to connect. I don't think they're ever going to say no to you. Try to connect, try to meet people, send an email, leave comments down below, send me a private message through Instagram. And yeah, let's keep the conversation going. And, you know, ladies, start your engines, because, I mean, they've been going for a while, but like we have to keep going. And again, it's for everyone. So I hope you enjoyed. Do not forget to subscribe. And yeah, have a great life, I guess.